Hi, welcome to my video on extra dividing a trinomial by a binomial. Just want to remind that this video is, you might be learning this in grade 9. If not, it could be in grade 10. But check with your textbook or check with your teacher to see if you're learning this content. And it's always good to look it over, but if it's going to be done in the later year, then just be careful. Look it over. This is extra, different way of thinking about the trinomials. So let's look at some examples. We have two polynomials being divided, and I'm going to call it a fraction. So let's divide these two binomials. So it's x plus 1, and it's x squared plus 6x plus 4. So let's do the division. X into x squared goes x. X times x is x squared. X times 1 is 1x. And because we're subtracting, we'll change the sign to a minus. We change the plus to a minus. Remember, that's a plus right there, understood. So 1x squared and a negative x squared cancels out. And 6 subtract 1 is 5. Bring down your 4. And we divide x into 5x to get a plus 5. Positive 5 multiplied by x is 5x. Positive 5 multiplied by 1 is plus 5. And again, we change our signs. Plus becomes a minus. And the plus becomes a minus. And these cancel out when you add them up. And 4 subtract 5 is negative 1. So that means that if we have, this is our quotient is, and I'm going to call it Q, is x plus 5, and the remainder R is the negative 1. So as a mixed numeral, if you think about this, this is your dividend, this is your divisor, this is your quotient, and this is your remainder down here. So in terms of dividing, if we think about it, if we take 21 and divide by 5, we will get 4. 5 into 21 goes 4, and 1 left over, so it would be 4 and 1/5. So I'm doing the same thing here with the polynomials. So I'm taking the quotient, which is the x plus 5, and I'm writing the remainder, which is a negative 1, over a divisor of x plus 1. So just a different way of thinking about this division, expressing it as what I call a mixed polynomial, but I don't think anybody in math calls it that way. It's just I'm doing that. So I have a, notice this is my, if you think about it, that's my answer to the division, which is called a quotient, and the remainder is 1 over the divisor. This is your divisor, which is 5, and that's your dividend. So I'm looking to express it this way, just something different. B, let's divide this one out. I have a 2x minus 3 divided into 10x squared minus 21x minus 9. Let's divide this out. 2x into 10x is 5x. Multiply back, 10x squared. Multiply 5x by negative 3, negative 15x. And the positive becomes a negative by adding on the opposite. The negative becomes a positive by adding on the opposite. So positive 10, negative 10, they cancel out. Negative 21 plus 15 is negative 6x minus 9. 2 into negative 6 goes negative 3. Negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. Negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9. And now we're subtracting, so we change the signs. The negative becomes a positive, and the positive becomes a negative. Negative 6, excuse me, negative 6x plus 6x cancels out. As a negative 9, subtract 9 is negative 18. So we have a quotient, which is 5x minus 3, and the remainder is negative 18. So in terms of the polynomial, the quotient, which is 5x minus 3, goes right here, and the remainder is negative 18 over your divisor, which is 2x minus 3. And let's try one more, but we got to be careful with, excuse me, we have to make sure that we do descending order. So negative 7x plus 1. Descending right here in this one, the 14x squared goes first, the 5x goes next, and the negative 1 is constant at the end. So let's divide. Negative 7x into 14x squared is negative 2x. And I multiply back. I get 14x squared. Multiply negative 2x by 1. Negative 2x. Draw a line. Because I'm subtracting, I make that a minus. Opposite of a plus. And that's a minus. I make the opposite of a minus is a plus. So that's a plus becoming a minus. That's a minus becoming a plus. So you're subtracting, so you're changing your signs. That cancels out. 5 plus 2 is 7x minus 1. So 7x into negative 7x into 7x goes negative 1. Multiply. Negative 1 by negative 7, 7x. Negative 1 by plus 1 is negative 1. So we notice that the two of these are the same, so they're going to give you 0. But if you change the sign, it becomes a minus. If you change the sign, it becomes a plus. Positive, negative cancels out. Negative 1, positive 1 cancels out. The remainder is 0. So my quotient is negative 2x minus 1. My remainder is 0. So therefore, if you think about it, the polynomial here is my quotient is negative 2x minus 1. My remainder is 0 over my divisor, which is negative 7x plus 1. But we don't write normally 0 over this, so that's just a negative 2x minus 1 because there's no remainder. Let's continue. So practice means you pause the video and you work these out. Try them yourself. If you have that done, then press play to see if you're right. So x plus 2 divided into x squared minus 7x minus 3. X into x squared is x. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. And as a plus becoming a minus. As a plus becoming a minus. Positive and a negative cancels out. Negative 7 minus 2 is negative 9x minus 3. Bring down your negative 3. And x into negative 9x is negative 9. Multiply negative 9 times x. Negative 9x. Negative 9 times 2. Negative 18. And the minus becomes a plus. The minus becomes a plus because you're adding on the opposite. Negative 9x plus 9x is 0. Negative 3 plus 18 is 15. And your quotient is the x minus 9. The remainder is 15. So when we write as a mixed polynomial, the divisor, the dividend is x minus 9. Remainder is 15 over a divisor of x plus 2. Okay, number 2, we have a negative 3x plus 4. That's my divisor, that's my dividend. So I'm dividing this divisor into this dividend, which is the trinomial. Descending order, the x goes before the number. And descending order here is negative 6x squared minus x plus 13. When I'm doing descending order, I do not change the signs. Negative 3x into negative 6x squared is a 2x. 2x times negative 3x is a negative 6x squared. 2x times 4 is 8x. And now I'm going to subtract, so the negative becomes a positive. Positive becomes a negative. Negative 6x squared and plus 6x squared cancels out. That's a negative 1. 1 understood, and a negative 8. Negative 1, negative 8 is a negative 9. Negative 3x x into negative 9x is a positive 3. Positive 3 times negative 3x, negative 9x. Positive 3 times 4 is 12. And the minus becomes a plus because we're doing the opposite. A plus becomes a minus. We're doing the opposite. So that becomes a 0. And 13 subtract 12 is a 1. And so my quotient is my divided. My quotient is right here at 2x plus 3. My remainder is a 1 right there. And so my dividend is, the answer is 2x plus 3. My remainder is 1 over my divisor, which is negative 3x plus 4. Hopefully you got those right. But again, lots of practice. You're doing descending order. You're doing the division. Remember, when you divide negative 3x into 6x squared, the answer is x. So because you do descending order, that x has to go above like terms to keep it in the same order. Here we go. Number 4. Now, what about reversing it? What about taking the mixed numeral, mixed polynomial, and expressing as a division of two binomials? Would that be the case if that's my divisor, that's my dividend, so 3 times my divisor, which is the denominator, x plus 2, add on 4, should give me the polynomial that we have as our dividend. Let me do a little further explanation. Pretend we had say a 5 and 2 over 3. So if I had 5 and 2 over 3, I would take the 5, multiply by the 3, and add 2, and place it over my divisor. So that would give me 15 plus 17 over 3. So the 17 over 3 is the division we're going to do in order to get the mixed numeral. So we're reversing it here now. So by multiplying my dividend, which is the answer, by the divisor, so same as here, 5 times 3 plus 2, so we got 3 times x plus 2, add on 4. Same idea. So that gives me 3x plus 2, add on 4, because the 3 is multiplied by both of these. Oh, that's a 6, sorry. 3 times x is 3x, 3 times 2 is 6, and now we add the 6 and 4 to get. So really, this fraction was 3x plus 10 over dx plus 2, because that's the polynomial that I have on the top, and my denominator is my divisor. So if I turned around and divided x plus 2 into 3x plus 10, then I would get this. So we're just reversing it. So here we have x plus 2 times x plus 3 and subtract 1, or add on negative 1. We have to multiply first, so it's x squared first, outside, inside, 2x, last. That's what we call the FOIL method. X squared plus 5x plus 5. After I multiply these, I have to do the multiplication first. Now I'm going to add my like terms because it's all addition. So that's a 5x and that's a 5. So really, as a fraction, here it is. That's my polynomial being divided by x plus 3. Just going the other way. And this is the practice. Pause your video, work these out to see if you're going to get them right, and press play to see if you're okay. So here we go. 6 times x plus 4, add on 5. Multiply 6x plus 24 plus 5. So 6 times x, 6x. 6 times 4, 24. X. 24, right? And we add like terms. 24 and 5 is 29. So that's my x plus 29, which is my polynomial being divided by x plus 4. So if you divided x plus 4 into 6x plus 9, you would get a 6 dividend on the top with a remainder of 5. And number 2, we have x minus 3 times 3x plus 2, add on 4. Dividend, now again, I keep referring back, but 7 and 2 over 5, that would be 7 times 5 plus 2. To change it back to an improper fraction, we practiced that before, so that would be 37 over 5. I'm just doing this as an extra to show you how I'm working this out so you won't forget. Because what I do, if I forget what to do here, I rewrite this problem like this, and I say, oh, I remember now. 7 times 5 is 35 plus 2. I got to multiply these two and add that. So that's what I'm doing here. Because once you know what you're doing here, this is the same thing. Multiply 3x squared first, outside, inside, negative 9x, last is negative 6 plus the 4. Add up like terms, and that gives me negative 7x minus 2. 2 and a negative 9, negative 7, negative 6 and 4 is negative 2. So that gives me 3x squared minus 7x minus 2, which is my polynomial being divided by 3x plus 2. And again, if you did 3x plus 2 and divided it into 3x squared minus 7x minus 2, if you rewrote this division like this and divided this out by doing the long division, you would get up right here x minus 3, and down the bottom you would get a 4 if you divided it out. And the last page, just to sum it all up, let's have a bit of fun, just puts it all together. If we took 23 and divided by 4, 4 into 23 goes 5, 4 5s are 20, subtract, you get a 3. So that means my dividend is my 23. My divisor is the 4, because that's what I divide him by. The answer is a 5, which is my quotient. And my remainder is a 3. So you can see how you're putting all this together. So if you look at it from this point of view, you would have, that would be a 5 and 3 over 4. 23 over 4 would be 5 and 3 over 4. If I wanted to write it as a mixed numeral. So notice, your 5 times 4 plus your 3. So that's a 5 times a 4 plus a 3 over 4. So that means your quotient, which is your 5, times your divisor, which is your 4, your denominator, add on your remainder, gives you the 23. So we're going to practice again. This page is a review. So if I took x plus 1 and divided it into 3x plus 5, descending order done, x into 3x goes 3. So the 3 goes above the constant. 3 times 3x is 3x. Sorry, 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 1 is 3. I'm subtracting, so the plus becomes a minus. The plus becomes a minus. Plus 3x minus 3x cancels out. Positive 5, negative 3 is a 2. So your divisor, or your dividend, is a 3x plus 5. Your divisor is x plus 1. Your quotient is a 3. That's the answer you got because of division. And your remainder is a 2. And if you check it out, then if you want to write it as, we write it as a fraction, then we have a 3, remainder 2, and over x plus 1. Again, there's your answer 3, remainder is 2, and over the x plus 1, the same as what we're doing up here. And if you want if we want to check that back, then 3 times x plus 1, add on 2, will give you the 3x plus 5. And let's continue. So we got 2x minus 3 into 6x squared minus 11x minus 2. 2x into 6x squared is a 3x. 3x times 2x, 6x squared. 3x times negative 3 is negative 9. Draw a line. And as a plus becomes a minus. As a minus becomes a plus. Positive 6x squared, negative 6x squared gives you 0 when you add. And a negative 11, add on 9 is a negative 2. Bring down your negative 2. 2x into negative 2x is a negative 1. Multiply back. You get negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. Negative 1 times negative 3 is a plus 3x. Plus 3, sorry. And negative becomes a positive. Positive becomes a negative. So negative 2x and positive 2x cancels out to give you 0 when you add. And this is a negative 2. Subtract 3 is a negative 5. Done. My dividend is the 6x squared minus 11x minus 2. There's my dividend. There's my divisor, which is 2x minus 3. And my quotient is the answer, which is 3x minus 1. And my remainder is a negative 5. And if we wanted to write it as a fraction, then we have our dividend. I'm just doing this as extras now. And my remainder is negative 5 over my divisor, which is 2x minus 3. So that means that 3x minus 1 times 2x minus 3, subtract 5, will give you this polynomial up here. So let's verify what we just did. Let's have a look. Verify. The polynomial, which is our dividend, in this case, the polynomial is the dividend. So the polynomial that I want is made up of the quotient times the divisor plus the remainder. So up here, if I took the 4, multiplied by the 5, and added on the remainder of 3, or I could go 5 times 4 plus 3, or I'll get a 20 plus 3, which is a 23. So that's the number that we started out with, 23, which is 23, and divided by the 4. So 23 is my polynomial that we started with, to divide by the 4. Number 2, if I took the x plus 1 multiplied by the 3 and added on the 2, then I would get the polynomial of 3x plus 5. Let's see. 3 times x, 3x. Or we could go this way. X times 3 is 3x. 1 times 3 is 3. Add on the 2, we get a 3x plus 5. So that's the polynomial that we started with. Just notice 3x plus 5. We have, look up here, 3x plus 5 over my divisor. Number 3, we have a quotient, which is the answer, which is 3x minus 1. And we have a divisor, which is right here. And we have a remainder of negative 5. Again, you can put these two in any order. You could have, I just have quotient times divisor, but I could have divisor times quotient plus the remainder, either or. So these two multiply together, add on the negative 5, will give you your 6x squared minus 11x minus 2. Let's check it. 3x times 2x is 6x squared. 3x times negative 1, negative 3x. Negative 1 times 2x, negative 2x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. Add like terms. Ooh. Did we make an error? Did I write it down wrong? My divisor, yeah. So I have an error, but can I find it? Did I write 3x plus 1? 2x, see. I should have had a 4 on the end. but there's a 3 there. So that's a -9. See, make an error. Leave it to me. Leave it to me. 6x squared minus 9x minus 2x plus 3. Now when I add, I get a -11. -11x minus 2. Now we got it. Just because I wrote down the -3 right here wrong, then I got the wrong answer. So I checked back and worked it through, and I said, I have to write this down here correctly. So I checked my division, yep. So now everything is okay. Anyway, that's a little bit of different math. Sorry for a little mistake, but I remind you, I make mistakes when I'm talking and trying to explain. I make mistakes. This is, see, different, but it's a different slant on changing that division to what we call a mixed, like a mixed number, mixed numeral. But it works. Check out the math. And if you like my video, click on the like button. If you're not a subscriber, click on the subscribe button. And the notification bell, put that on, because there's more videos coming. You want to write a comment, go ahead on my video if you are a subscriber. If you want, visit my math website, mathfullyexplained.com. And there we have 3 sections. One section is about me, my degrees and teaching experience. Another section is on videos telling you about the teaching strategies you're going to use to help you learn your math. And the content gives you the units or the topics that I have online with the number of videos on each of those topics. And the black font is what's online right now on my YouTube channel, Mathfully Explained. And the red font is what will be there in the near future, because I have many more videos to develop. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.